All right, here we go for episode 438. All right, folks, welcome back to another episode of This Week in Photo. I'm your host, Frederick Van Johnson. This is an interesting show we have lined up for you today. Some newsworthy, kind of important stories in there, not just the usual fluff like we did last week with the funny stories. This one is more of an important show. And to tackle some of the stories that we have lined up are Miss Valerie Jardin, Mr. Derrick Story, and a new addition to the TWiP host lineup is Mr. Eric Cheng. Hey, guys.
Hey,
Hello.
everyone.
Hello, hello.
All right. Let's just do some quick introductions. Valerie, when we were sitting in the green room just now, the virtual green room, you were saying you're exhausted because you've been on planes for too long. Come on. You and your first world problems. You're like, you know what? I got to go to Paris, and then I got to go to Barcelona, and then Normandy. I hate my life, right?
No, I never said that. I said I was a little tired. It's the end of a really, really busy season, and I'm done with workshops for the year now until January. But
Oh, wow.
I'm doing a lot of speaking engagements as a Fuji X series photographer. So
That's cool.
they're
That's
flying
cool.
me
Are you
everywhere.
doing out of Chicago again this year?
Next year, yeah, out of Chicago
yeah,
and
next year.
most likely out of New York. So I'll see you there.
Oh, very cool. Yes, I'll see you at both of those. Cool. All right. Well, welcome back to the show. It's good to have you. Got lots of stuff for you to chime in on today. Also on the show, Mr. Derrick Story. Hey, Derrick, what's going on, man?
Hey, Frederick. Oh, I'm doing great. Doing fantastic.
What's happening when we started recording? Everybody's so busy these days. You're like, okay, I just clicked the stop button from recording the digital story, and now I'm
Yes.
in This Week in Photo. You're just what's
Yes,
going on in your
yes.
world, man?
Yes. Well, lots of stuff. You know, one of the things I try to do at the end of every year is get my house in order for the start of the next year, so I have momentum. So a lot of work on Nimble Photographer, a lot of work on Digital Story. You and I are doing some stuff
Yep.
along those lines, planning the workshops for next year. Just, you know, really, it's fun. I love this time of year. I like it when it gets a little rainy outside, and I got a big project list, and I'm just hacking away at things, and I'm not in airports right now, so
Yeah,
I'm liking
yeah.
that part too. Yeah.
It's interesting you say that you love this time of year, because this time of year for our corporate fans and listeners is always a hectic time of year, because this is the layoff season, right? And we're going to talk about that a little bit.
Yes.
They always like to do the layoffs
Yes.
in this quarter right before the holidays. I don't know what it is. All right, and last
Yes.
but not least on the show, my good friend Mr. Eric Cheng is here. What's up, Eric?
Hey, good to be on. It's
good
been
to
a
have you here.
long time since I mean, other than the one that you just did.
Yeah.
I was on, I guess, in the Lytro days. And
Yeah, that's right. You were way back then.
yeah, probably two or 3 years ago, I think. 2 years ago? I don't remember. I can't keep track of time.
I'm on a downhill slope with this time thing, man.
Yeah. I was thinking about Valerie being tired, and I was thinking I'm pretty tired too because we had a kid, and that changes things a lot. I'm a night owl, as you know, and now I have to get up at 6:30 every day. So, but my bedtime hasn't changed, so it's pretty brutal.
So it's just getting compressed on either ends. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, good.
Yeah, things are good. I've been doing the aerial, back into aerial for a long time with DJI. Now I'm out of aerial stuff. Not out of aerial stuff. I should say I'm ex-DJI, but I'm still doing a lot of work from the air. And just trying to figure out what's next. So it's a great time to be in between things. I mean, so much is going on in the photography world.
You picked a good time to be, I don't want to say unemployed, but not employed, or between employ is where you are. Yeah.
Between full-time employee, I should say.
Between
yeah.
full-time employee. Yeah. Well, welcome to the show, man. This is going to be a good one. We got lots of cool stuff to talk about. Let's dive right in. The first story in our show notes here is about a former Instagram model. Her name is Essena O'Neill. Apparently she had some sort of life event. She's 18 years old. She's from Australia. She had some sort of life event that made her flip her bit and decide to kind of reveal the candidness of her social media following. So she kind of started this vendetta against the world of social media being less than genuine in terms of the photos that models and other people post. So a little bit about her. She's got an Instagram which is a mix of scenic and candid or seemingly candid photos. And there's waterfalls, there's all kind of stuff in there. But she's got close to 580,000 followers. She has another 260,000 subscribers on her YouTube channel, and on Snapchat she's hovering around 60,000. So she's a media powerhouse in one person with a cell phone right now, and she's made the decision to say, you know what? All these photos that you see of me looking fabulous, they're not exactly genuine. And let me read some of the. I'm looking at her page, at the page right now where they posted some of her comments. Like, she took a shot, like one of her shots she posted on Pinterest, and she re-edited the comment to read, what does it say? Not real life. Took over 100 in similar poses trying to make my stomach look good. And then the next one, she goes on, this one had 24,500 likes. She says, was paid $400 to post a dress. That's when I had maybe 150K followers. With 500,000 followers, I know many online brands with big budgets that will pay up to $2,000 per post. It goes on like that. So she's basically pulling the covers off of this industry. So for you guys, I wanted to, that in and of itself, that this model decided to do that, is interesting. But I wanted to shine a little light on this industry in general. And Derrick, I want to start with you. Just the idea. Many people don't know that this is a business behind, some of these Instagrams, specifically these Instagram models that are out there. And you see them doing interesting things, or your celebrity people that you're following with millions of followers. They're in a lot of cases getting paid for that post, that they're putting up there. Did you know about that? Did you know that this was kind of a shadow industry happening?
I did know that. Yes.
Because you're paid for your posts, right, Derrick?
Not yet.
I saw you in that bikini with that beer.
And here's the thing: the whole selfie option is out for me right now on Instagram, so it doesn't work. But it is a big deal. There's a lot of if you really follow Instagram and enjoy it, which I do. You see the product placements all the time. I mean, they jump right out at you. You hear the stories of where, for a lot of celebrities, this is something that they spend a big part of their week on, setting up Instagram shoots, executing them, getting the right shot, doing all that sort of stuff. They put a lot of value into that for whatever reason. So, yes, it's not just people wandering around with their smartphones, shooting their lunch. There's people build up their follower lists, and then they try to cash in on it.
But they make
not
it,
everyone.
In a lot of ways, like this model, some of these shots we're looking at, they make it look like it's candid. Like, hey, I just happened to be out partying with my friends with my Michael Kors purse with the logo showing.
Yeah, I know. But really, I mean, deep down inside, don't you know it's not candid? I mean, I feel like I do. I mean, I have a wide variety of people that I follow, mainly because I'm just fascinated by this whole thing. All the way from the people that are taking pictures of their kids growing up, which is fun, through the people that are doing something that is very, very oriented with very stylized look and everything in between. It's all fascinating to me. But the stuff that's set up, I mean, I can feel it. I'm a photographer. I feel like I can look at a picture and figure it out.
I wonder, Valerie, you used to be in the commercial photography kind of industry, right? Before you, a year or so ago, made the jump into more street and workshops and all that. When you see stuff like this, is this, like, how does it rub you as someone that used to do this profession?
Well, no, actually, what bothers me is actually what 13, 14-year-old girls are trying to look like, and the time they're spending. I wasn't really aware of this because I have two boys who could care less about social media, but one of my best friends has a 13 or 14-year-old girl, and I shared the article with her today, and she was so thankful that I did. She said, because it is such a big problem. She said she catches her daughter constantly with her friends posing and being so worried as to what they look before they press they take the picture on their phone for Snapchat or Instagram, and then they actually do hashtag goals and things like that. They're 13-year-old girls. They're never satisfied with the way they look. That is dangerous.
Yeah.
That's what bothers me about this, is that yes, this looks fake. I agree. I mean, they look like bad model pictures,
Like
basically.
outtakes from a model shoot or something.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. Like the between the scenes or something.
Mm-hmm,
I
mm-hmm.
mean, she actually does a pretty good job working with a phone and doing it on her own.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
still, it's just the whole idea behind it is just really sad and such a sign of times that I think parents are kind of disconnected as to what their 13-year-olds are doing, and it makes me happy. I don't have a daughter, honest with
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I applaud Asena for doing
Yeah.
this, because it's, it takes a lot of, I would say it takes a lot of courage. There's interesting comments because they embedded Facebook comments into that blog post. So it's interesting people's take, and of course your requisite trolls in there, but people's take on, well, if she felt this way about the industry, she should have gotten a different job. And then other people are saying, yeah, she's awesome for shining a light on this for other, like you're saying, Valerie, for other women that may be thinking that this stuff is real. Eric, when you look at this, when I read this article, I was thinking, okay, you look at the proliferation of social media out there and how it is or just Instagram, and how it is the way many of these kids are communicating back and forth with each other. In the olden days, say, I don't know, 10 years ago or so, there was all this outcry about women being photoshopped on magazines, and the magazines presenting a disingenuous look and perception of what the ideal female should look like. And now we're seeing these kinds of things, but it's more believable in some ways because it's people that you can hashtag and communicate with. What do you think, Eric? I mean, is this the new?
Yeah, actually, my first reaction was also that I felt like we had seen this before.
Yeah.
This is sort of the same kind of standards of beauty affecting the way that mostly young women behave, but in some cases, not just young women. But I think in this case, she has an opportunity to reach a lot of that audience, which is something that I think the traditional magazines are no longer reaching, as far as I know. And maybe they are, but it seems like a really good. I think the story is great in that their message is one that it's the same message, but now she has the opportunity to reach all these people, who are being affected by it now, and they're sort of out of reach for us. Like look at those of us in this in this podcast. Yeah. It's hard for us to reach a 13-year-old girl, so I think it's great. But the other thing is, if you read through a lot of the comments, I think being in this situation, people are reacting poorly because she's in this situation where she's being given a lot, and it's clearly it's sort of a first world issue. You were joking about first world problems before, mm-hmm. and it really does feel first world. And I see this a lot also in conservation efforts, and there are a lot of. I mean, it doesn't mean it's not an issue. It's definitely a real issue. But you can imagine someone who can't even imagine this kind of lifestyle, looking at these and just thinking, "Cry me a river,"
Yeah, but at the same time, it's geographic. It's geography. You can't like. I mean, I suppose you can, but I don't. You have to look at people have to take advantage of their natural resources, right? And this kid was born and with certain assets, which won't be there forever, and all models have the same thing. They're born, they're beautiful, and then it goes away and they go do something else. So you can't fault her for doing this, right?
Yeah, I'm not faulting it. This is just if you read the comments, these are just sort of you can see that there are all sorts of different kinds of reactions, and I suppose that's a good thing because that's what's generating the controversy and the discussion.
Yeah, and why we're talking about it. Derrick, you're going to say something?
Yeah. The thing, it's been a few days since I read the article, but the thing that jumped out at me when I read the article was that she said she just wasn't happy.
Yeah.
I mean, she just she felt hollow. This wasn't making her happy. She was just tired of feeling that way. And that was the thing that I came away with, is that, the same thing, I work with models sometimes for certain assignments, mm-hmm. and I see how hard the work is. And, these are regular models. These are models that this is what they're doing for a living. Yeah. But, people's perception of, someone that is, that's beautiful and photographs easily and all that, is that, they have this great, wonderful life, and of course that's propelled on how it's projected on Instagram and so forth. But the fact of the matter is, a lot of times, you do go home hollow. You don't feel great. And I've even noticed that after a speaking engagement, I'll be speaking in front of a whole bunch of people, and then I go back to a hotel room, and you have this little letdown. It doesn't feel great. Yeah, so I was really touched by that. Here, she was just saying, I'm just not happy anymore. And,
well, but just being somebody else is tiring. I mean, she is pretending to be somebody else constantly. Yes. Imagine how hard it would be. I mean, how you have to keep up that consistency. I mean, the easiest way to be is to be you.
I mean, I understand that, all that, but when you zoom out from it, like when I was in the Air Force and people, I felt like we were justified in complaining. We complained all the time. I hate this. Oh, my job sucks. All this. It was all, but we all at the end of the day, we went home. We came back the next day. Because we wanted to, obviously, because we were there, but we were under contract, so we had to. When you look at these kinds of gigs. And when people start complaining, the first thing goes through my head is like, quit. Go do something else. If you don't like that thing, go flip burgers or go start a podcast or whatever. No one's got a gun to your head to go.
But look how young she was. 15 when she started. I mean, that was easy money, and she was getting new stuff, and she was, getting all the likes and you're so beautiful, and it got out of control, and now it's like her integrity, and she finally woke up and decided she was tired of being a fake. I think she was just so young, and that's what's dangerous, is that they start so young, projecting that image of themselves.
It's dangerous and scary because you think about this, when we were that young, there's no way we could have sat at McDonald's and reached 580,000 people before we finished our fries. So it's dangerous in a lot of ways, right?
That's a great point. I mean, I think that's a really great point. That's tangential, but is still very good. Which is, I'm glad I wasn't able to then, because I remember how I was as a teenager. I was an idiot.
So I mean, I'm just now getting out of that, Derrick.
and to have some sort of I'm still working on, and to have some sort of permanent record on social media of my idiocy, that would haunt me the rest of my life, possibly. Yeah. Oh man, I have to tell you, in a lot of ways, I really feel for kids these days.
Yeah, because she may be going through some sort of pubescent thing or whatever, and her mind isn't right, and she's doing all this stuff online, which is being etched in granite. When she comes out of it and she hits, normalcy or middle age or whatever, and she looks back and like, oh my God, did I really say that?
Well, and you can't take not it just back. Her. Yeah. Not just her, but every other kid. I mean, really good kids, right? Really kids that could be, CEOs someday. They're all, we're all stupid at a certain age.
Well, that's why they're on Snapchat.
Well, in some ways, it's good, right? Because if they make these, it's almost like digital Darwinism, right? So they're kind of weeding themselves out from being part of the pack that was smart enough not to do that. So I don't know.
Oh boy.
Eric, what do you think about this whole industry, though? I mean, like I hinted at, she had 580,000 followers, 260 subscribers on YouTube. She's a media empire, just one girl with a cell phone right now, and there are legions of her out there. She's not the only one. That's an entirely new market space out there. So, like, switching gears away from the moral and the hypotheticals and all this stuff about the situation that the story is, but just looking at the market in that new space. And I look at it, and like you hinted at, Eric, that's a space that we can't touch, right? In a lot of ways, unless we hire them to message or something. That's not something that we as older people can even engage in. It's an untouched world. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it's funny. I think a lot of the conversations that photographers have constantly about exposure, the E word, and everybody gets so mad about exposure. I say no because sometimes I don't want the exposure, don't need it. But I think a lot about exposure and what it means, especially when you have something to sell. And if you're going to sell it, in this case, unfortunately, maybe fortunately, it's just the way it is. It's just kind of the mainstream things that she's trying to get away from. It's how she looks and how she can sell products based on, showing them in her feeds. But we all have something we want to sell. That's kind of how commercialism works. And And exposure can be really valuable. And the things that I always looked for were exposure in the form of, say, a live link to your website from a big site. You know, that's very valuable. You can't buy that kind of exposure.
Yeah.
And maybe having followers who, you know, like for example, I'm running a contest on Twitter right now, which is a retweet contest, which, you know, normally, actually, I found them to be in the past potentially annoying. You know, you barrage someone with all these, you know, please retweet this. So I'm trying to do it responsibly. But without followers, that retweet campaign would be useless.
Yeah.
You know, so I think it's just the way that things are going, and photographers are feeling it really hard. I mean, how many people look at? She got paid what? She's saying like you can get $2,000 per post to put a bikini on. I mean, how many photographers have sold an image for $2,000 recently?
Yeah,
You know?
that's true. That's true. Yeah, again, you know, natural resources. She can do that now, but she won't be able to do it later, whereas photographer will be able to do that much longer. So, you know, it's the long tail. Photographers theoretically can be viable doing the same thing for decades and decades and decades, whereas
Do
a
you
model.
think so, really?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think so.
I think not doing the same thing, but
Well,
evolving.
no, not doing the same thing, but
Yeah.
but being a photographer or being an image maker, evolving
Right.
with the times. But you know, it's what was the analogy someone used? It's you know, limited shelf life for that kind of industry, right? It's going to be a short window of time where she can get a large
Right.
amount of money versus a long period of time where you can get relatively smaller amounts of money but more sustainable.
Yeah,
So.
and you were saying, you know, if she doesn't like it, she should just quit, and that's basically what she did. So I think it's great that she realized it early and is now has a message.
Yeah.
And so I have a lot of respect for that.
Yeah, definitely. We'll put a link to her Instagram feed in the show notes for this post, and of course the articles that we're referring to. This story came to us from Elite Daily, so definitely check it out. All right, guys, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about B&H. They found themselves under fire amid some allegations of poor safety conditions and discrimination. All right, guys, we are back for story number 2. This one's about B&H under fire amidst allegations of poor safety conditions and discrimination. So this comes to us from our friends over at Resource Magazine and Petapixel. So let me read this blurb for you guys. So B&H is facing a crisis of sorts as 199 out of approximately 240 of its workers have come together to protest the working conditions and alleged discrimination at the photo warehouse giant. On October 11th, 2015, workers from B&H Photo and their families launched a union campaign representing over 150 warehouse workers with worker-led group Laundry Workers Center and United Steelworkers, and called for the photo and video giant to fix what they are calling dangerous workplace conditions and discrimination against Latino employees. And so on November 5th, it's November 9th as we're recording this, November 5th, B&H employees voted to join the United Steelworkers Union, and by the time the vote rolled around yesterday, I think it was yesterday as we recorded this, over 1,000 people in the photography and creative industry had signed an open letter in support of the B&H workers, including myself. So the quote is, "We stand with the workers of the hashtag BHExposed campaign and call on B&H Photo and Video to allow the workers to form a union free from intimidation and retaliation and quickly negotiate a fair contract," the letter reads. "Many of us can no longer in good conscience patronize B&H, and we stand together closely watching the company ready to act and support the workers." And I put a link in the show notes from David Hobby, another one of my virtual mentors. He's also known as Strobist. He tweeted his support to B&H as well. So I wanted to bring it to this forum to shed some light on it. A lot of people may not even know that this is going on. Hopefully this will bring it up a level or two. Valerie, when you saw this, personally, when I saw this, when I read this story, I had no idea any of this was going on. You know, I just thought B&H, buy stuff, you know, go there, lust after the catalog, and it's over. You know, I never thought about, you know, it never even occurred to me that they had dangerous workplace conditions, discrimination against Latino employees. I've even been there, and it seemed like a happy, joyous, gear-filled place. And now we're seeing if it's maybe not like that in the back room. What do you think about this story, Valerie?
Well, I found out today as well, and it's shocking, and I'm glad that something is being done. And I've bought at B&H. I mean, who hasn't? You know, it's always been a good experience, so I can't say anything about that. But I would definitely think twice about placing another order after reading this, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And I don't know why it took so long, you know, but at least somebody blew the whistle and things are going to get done. And I'm so glad they're getting a union involved and are going to get make some changes happen.
Yeah, yeah.
And I know I read some of the comments, like people say, well, then prices are going to go up. Well, good. Then our local camera stores will have a better chance. So
that's right.
That's even better.
That's right. Yeah, and when I saw this, you know, the first thing I think is like, yeah, you know, this can't be right. It's B&H. And then you see that 199 out of 240 people there. Yeah. So, you know, it can't be like one guy just saying, hey, you know, I got bummed on my last performance review and I'm pissed off. I'm gonna throw you guys under the bus. Eric, Cheng, yeah, I'm sure you've bought one or two things at B&H in the past. What do you think about this? Was this disappointing, or did you see it coming?
I mean, I think it's pretty common to see this sort of story in any warehouse situation. You know, the stories came out about Amazon not too long ago, and it's really stories like this that encourage the companies to look a little bit harder to try to provide fair working conditions for employees. Yeah. Having said that, I haven't seen a lot of information from B&H or, you know, additional articles that fact check and are, you know, give us more information. You know, we're just first of all, I'm extremely skeptical in general, and so not to say that not to say that this shouldn't happen, but anytime I've been behind a media story, it's not been 100% accurate, and you have to read 10 stories from different sources and wait until somebody who, you know, can really get in does some digging to find out what's really going on. So I'm just sort of waiting. You know, I'm not willing to put my, I mean, what does it mean to support something that you're not that educated about? So yes, I support fair working conditions. I have shopped at B&H in the past, although it's been a while, and I'm just sort of, I mean, I would love to see what happens here. You know, I think there's a lot of pressure on B&H right now, certainly some bad press, and which might be a good thing. You know, that's a good thing to sort of encourage the company to open dialogues and do the right thing.
Yeah, and I agree. I mean, on principle of this thing, I'm like I was saying, 199 people out of 240, you know, they can't all be wrong. So, you know, looking at it from that standpoint, there's clearly something going on there. So, and I'm a by the people for the people kind of person. So, but at the same time, I understand and agree what you're saying, Eric. You know, it's all these stories come out and they're salacious and they're great. You know, they're newsworthy. They draw hits, and then you find out, oh, by the way, it wasn't really like that because it was A, B, and C that, you know, that led to this. So yeah, so it bears mentioning that B&H has not commented on this at all in any way. So we don't have.
Yeah, so they put out like a 2-sentence reply that basically says nothing. So so they did comment, but there's no content in it.
They comment to say that we're not commenting.
Not yet.
Not yet. We're not. Yeah. We're going to take it under advisement. We're not going to comment. So I don't know. I don't know if Derrick Story has purchased anything from B&H, but what do you think about this story, Derrick? We've heard a couple of sides of the coin down the line here. You're the last tree to fall. What do you think?
Well, if I was working with B&H on this, I would say, you know, what you need to do is you need to come up with a statement that, you know, puts your position out there on this, and I would probably encourage them to say, you know, we probably did come up short with how we were managing our warehouse and its personnel, and we want to work with them, and we want to do a better job. And if I were them, that's what I would do, and I hope they feel that way. And then, you know, at the end of the day, I mean, this is not going to be good for their business, but, you know, the bright spot is at least they're not Volkswagen. So
don't get me started on those guys.
Yeah. So
one thing that's worth mentioning is that you can find quite a lot of articles about B&H in the past about discrimination lawsuits. I mean, the earliest one that I've found is 2007, so it's been some time. 2009 against female workers, 2011 another racial discrimination lawsuit. So it seems like there's some history here, and they have to deal with this. You know, I think that it's not a good. I mean, certainly not good for the company, and hopefully they've realized that. I agree with Derrick. They have to come out and address it head on.
Yeah. Like anything, it's like crisis management 101. You can't be silent because people will form their own opinions, and it only takes a short minute for people the masses to form an opinion and then go with it and convict you in the court of public opinion, right?
Exactly, and not only can you not be silent, but when you do say something, which needs to be pretty soon, it needs to be sincere, and you need to follow up. So this is a real opportunity for them. You can, as a company or an individual, you can take any bad situation, in almost any bad situation, except for Volkswagen, and turn it around into something that can propel you to the next level. I mean, they have a real opportunity here to do something with this, and I personally, I'd like to see them do it. I mean, I think they're an interesting company, and I'd like to see them do the right thing.
So, Valerie, I want to have you weigh in on like what you would do on this. Before we do that, Eric, you have some business school experience, I believe. So, if you were called in as a consultant to B&H right now, and they said, "Hey, Eric, we're under fire, man. We need some help. How do we spin our way out of this?" What would your top line advice be to them?
Where did you read that I had business school experience?
I don't know.
I actually haven't been in business school, but I've done a lot of PR work, obviously.
Yeah.
I'm media trained, and I think if they don't have, I mean, surely B&H Photo has PR people, I'm sure, but if they don't, I would just recommend working with experts and working with the people who are having issues. Yeah. I mean, I think unionizing is a pretty major thing to do for a group of employees, and to have 200 people in a situation where they're wanting to unionize, it does mean that something unsustainable is going on. So I think I mean, none of us are experts in what is really going on out there. So I think it's really they have to have a dialogue and arbitration in order to make this work. And I think the union is kind of being the placeholder for a way to force arbitration. Yeah. And that may be the only way forward. Yeah. So again, I think it's a story that we're going to be tracking with great interest as photographers.
Absolutely, yeah. And as TWiP, Valerie, what about you? If you're consulting with these guys and they need your help to get out of this mess, what would you tell them to do?
Well, definitely they should come out soon and make a statement. That would be, I think, if this happened just a few days ago, I don't know, it should have been done by now. But yeah, I mean, there's just no reason for people to. I mean, there's some of the statements. People are working like at 7 a.m. and at 11 p.m. they're still working in the warehouse. Yeah. I mean, come on. I mean, I know I'm French, and but
because you're not really qualified to talk about that.
No. I'm thinking. I mean, I already think that people here are overworked and underappreciated. And I mean, I have friends who've been working with a company for 10 years and they're still getting just 2 weeks off paid vacation a year. I'm like, come on, that's just ridiculous. So just to see those people working, double shift in a warehouse under conditions where they have to lift things they're not supposed to be lifting and breathing, dust all day, it's unacceptable.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's interesting. Well, we'll keep an eye on this, as Eric said, as it unfolds, which hopefully will be soon. Hopefully B&H will respond, maybe even by the time this episode goes live, they will have responded. So keep your eye on that. All right, guys, we're going to move on to story number 3. Time flies so fast when you're doing this show. Story number 3 is about National Geographic. So, let's take a quick break before we do this story. So let's take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about National Geographic. All right, guys, we're back. So let me read this blurb. It says, in the opening days of the month, when National Geographic magazine is scheduled to be turned over to 21st Century Fox, the magazine's employees were told to stand by their phones to wait for calls, one by one, to come in from human resources to learn the fate of their jobs. Among those, that's so sad. I hate to hear that. I've seen this. I've been one of those guys standing by the phone. So fast forward to Tuesday. Among those who were the first to be let go on Tuesday morning, according to our source, and this is coming to us from NPAA, was also one of the magazine's top picture editors and one of the magazine's page designers, who, according to several photographers, was the, quote, best designer on staff, et cetera, et cetera. So, so this story is interesting. And Eric, I want to start with you on this. So National Geographic, the largest, Washington Post reported today that National Geographics were the largest in the organization's 127-year history. And it impacts every department of the society, including National Geographic Channel, reportedly the most profitable division of the nonprofit. When you see this story, Eric, when you saw this, a couple of things came to my mind personally. I think of Nat Geo, and I think of like the yellow square that my dad had a subscription to. We had a wall full of those, and we'd go find them, and go look through things and dream about places that we might one day travel to in the future. This reminds me of Kodak in a lot of ways, where you have these institutions that we grew up with that are iconic, that we now start seeing that there's lead pipes instead of I don't know. What do you think when you saw this?
Well, I think it's probably much more complicated than most people in the media are reporting. National Geographic is a pretty complex organization and has lots of different businesses associated with it. The yellow square in the magazine is probably more representative of traditional publishing, which is really not doing that well. But they have, they have the Nat Geo Society, which continues to be nonprofit, which had its endowment actually increased by the merger or acquisition. And they have obviously lots of travel. The branding is, National Geographic's a brand, covers a huge swath of kind of what people do in media and travel and TV. And also the TV station, the National Geographic Channel has been working with Fox for like 18 years or something. So, they have a long history together. And so I think it's overly simplistic to say, Fox is acquiring Nat Geo, it's going to hell. But of course the layoffs are...
There's always layoffs when you do that, though. I mean, you have two big organizations. There's always overlap, and it's not
layoffs.
There's
redundancy.
Yeah, there's redundancies. Hey, that guy's been doing my job, for 20 years longer than I have, so I got to go. That's generally the way it goes. You can't keep two people for nothing.
But I haven't talked to a single photographer who has had a good thing to say
about this merger.
Yeah, about this merger. They can only they think of like Rupert Murdoch being, a climate control skeptic, or climate change skeptic, and now they think of him, they think of that legacy on top of Geographic. And I saw that National Geographic's devoting a full episode to climate change, and so maybe that's going to combat that perception or something. But
that would be interesting, yeah. See a whole episode on how global warming is a myth. Yeah, that would be... We can't have that. I don't know. We're going to go fast on this. Valerie, what do you think about this whole thing and the layoffs and the merger and all that?
Well, I think Nat Geo lost its luster a long time ago, if that's the right expression. I mean, yes, there was the magazine, it was beautiful, but it's, now it's a TV channel that, it's pretty much reality TV. It's not really quality. I mean, I'm sure there are some, I don't watch TV much, but the few times that I've actually gone into the National Geographic channel, I thought I was on the wrong channel, to be honest with you. I was so disappointed. And that's not the standard I would have expected from the magazine I used to read.
Yeah. Quality doesn't sell these days, right? It's all about...
Exactly, yeah. It's, that's just, that's right.
No, Derrick, piggyback on that. So, like Valerie was saying, we had a certain brand perception of Nat Geo, and from a photographer standpoint, Nat Geo used to be the holy grail, right? In a lot of ways, it's like you got an assignment from Nat Geo to go to so-and-so, you're the real deal at that point, right? So, you think that's gone?
Yeah, I mean... That's what I wanted to be when I grew up, right? When I was a little kid, I wanted to shoot for Life, and then later on, I wanted to shoot for Nat Geo. So it was an aspiration publication for sure. But like Eric and Valerie are saying, it has changed over the years. It's different now, and I mean, now they sell shoulder bags and all that kind of stuff too. Although I have to say. Not everything they're doing is down the tubes. when I was in Cuba, one of the tours there, they run regular tours all over the world too, and one of the tours there was a National Geographic tour where they had about a dozen people or so, and it looked like a really well-run tour with, they were visiting places and having thoughtful interviews, and I thought really doing a nice job of showing people the inside of Cuba there, Havana and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the thing is, the minute you see a merger, the minute you see an acquisition these days, a certain list of things are going to happen, and to me, when I see these stories, I just think they're sort of inevitable. And the numbers could have been worse, in all honesty, not to take anything away from those who lost their job. I feel for them. But numbers could have been worse on this. There may be more up the road. But it seems business as usual to me. And National Geo isn't what it used to be.
Yeah, you're totally right.
It's just what happens. And I don't like it. When I hear of a merger or when I hear of an acquisition, like Fox or Murdoch taking National. I mean, you just hear it, and I don't know how you guys feel, but when I heard it, my stomach just went, "Oh, really?
I know.
Why'd it have to be them?"
I am not a fan of this time of year, the holiday season, because of this stuff. I mean, you're conditioned, having spent decades in corporate America, you're conditioned to know that, around this time, all the rumors and murmurs and all that stuff start about who's getting cut and the department's downsizing and this and all that.
Yeah.
And am I going to have my job? Do I have to start showing that I'm actually, let me make sure all my projects are buttoned up so my boss knows that I'm valuable, so I get on the good list. All that stuff happens. And then you end up seeing, like, I know personally right now today several people that are in that position that are like, I don't know what I'm going to do for Christmas, because I might not have a job. It might be a Charlie Brown Christmas this year, and every single year that happens, which is one of the reasons why I'm not doing that kind of thing right now.
Yeah.
I don't know, And
go
ahead, Derrick.
We're here, Frederick. You and I are here where we are in part because of that process, right?
Yeah.
I mean, when I walked into the O'Reilly conference room and they went dun with severance packages, then you go, all right, you know what? I'm an entrepreneur now. Fuck it.
Yeah, exactly. It's okay. I said the same thing, Derrick. That's awesome. Yeah, it's there's being an entrepreneur or a solopreneur is stressful because you're like, we're always doing stuff. It's not like today I'm just gonna veg out and sit in my office and close the door and make money.
Right.
You're all like, Valerie's dead tired right now, but Valerie, I would argue that you are probably the happiest that you've been in your entire life right now.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, I moved here and I knew corporate America was not for me, so I completely bypassed that and started my own business right away.
Yeah.
Not as a photographer at first, but I knew I wasn't cut out to work, long hours with little summer and little
with a guillotine, a French term, a guillotine swinging over your head.
Just like, I come from a country where you have 5 weeks paid vacation right away when you start working, and so it's a completely different mindset, and I'm not cut out for the corporate America mindset. That's clear. So I had to work for me. I had no other choice. I would have been a real nightmare to anybody.
Yeah, I wouldn't have wanted to work with or under or had you work for me. And
but yeah, I work constantly. I work more than 40 hours a week. That's for sure. But I'm happy.
Yeah, we all do. All right, I want to move on fast. Eric, I know you have a hard stop. You got baby stuff happening tonight, so we're gonna let you go in just a second. Before we do that, I want to get your last thoughts on this, especially considering that you're hot on the heels of having left a corporate job. Right? So, and now you're kind of in that middle limbo period. A story like this, how does it weigh in on you? How does it make you feel, the whole layoff thing?
Well, I mean, I think...
And just to be clear, you were not laid off. You you left of your own accord.
The corporate job I was in was not so corporate because I was running the office here, so it was really on my terms, and it was really, I mean, from the outside, it was, we talked about this a little bit earlier, but I think it looked like the dream job. And these are the sorts of jobs that I've always pursued, which are jobs that are very much in line with my interests. So just like Valerie's saying, you can work, I mean, I was working, say, 80-hour weeks or longer, which is just, I actually can't imagine life another way, because if I'm not working, I think the worst job I had was a job that capped me at 35 hours a week, like the French. And and it was a corporate job, writing like options trading software on Wall Street or something, and it was on contract, and I was doing my work, but it wasn't not that exciting, and so I don't know, I feel for the people who are laid off, and I hope National Geographic can maintain its quality standards. I mean, I know that some people aren't happy with the way it is now, but I really enjoy the magazine still. When I meet people who don't like the magazine, they're usually people who don't read it. And the articles are the few articles that are very much in depth, with a lot of thought given to the photography and the writing about a particular subject, and that's just hard to find these days. And it's also hard to find people who will read that, because most people, no one has attention span, and their headlines only have one sentence instead of 2 or 3.
Absolutely right. Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. All right, I'm gonna switch things up a little bit. We're gonna take a quick break, and then before I let you go, Eric, I'm gonna get your pick of the week so that then we'll let you go. All right, so let's take a quick break, and then we'll be right back. All right, guys, we're back. We're gonna dive into the pick of the week area section of the show right now. This is a segment where you guys can pick something as long as it's related to photography. Eric, I know you got to run. What is your pick of the week?
Well, actually, it's related to something that I was doing a lot at DJI, which is photogrammetry. So this is extracting data from photography, basically, and usually photography that is moving. So, just in the same way that we see a stereo world with 2 eyes, you can imagine photographs taken in 100 or 1,000 different locations, which gives you a lot of really interesting data about the world. So this would be typically 3D data, full 3D modeling data, and also enough pictures so that you can ortho-rectify basically a large panoramic image and lay it on a map and have it be accurate. So I've been doing a ton of this, and the software that's typically used actually mostly is free. Pix4D, that's Pix4D, has a free software package you can download that will take just arbitrary images. You can go roaming around a house taking pictures of it, and then you can just dump it in the software or use the cloud to process it, and you get something that works in Google Maps, and you get in Google Earth, and you get something that also lets you interact with the 3D environment. And also Drone Deploy, that's another one. The name is drone centric, but you can actually drop arbitrary imagery into their website. They're 100% cloud-based, and it will just it'll extract all the content from those pictures and generate a 3D model. So, for example, I had my swimming pool removed because it was leaking and was in horrible condition. And before, just for kicks, I flew a Phantom around it and figured out the volume of the pool so that I could calculate how many tons of dirt, and therefore dump trucks worth of dirt, needed to be carted in to fill it. Turns out the pool company already knows all this stuff because they've been doing it as their career, but it's fun for me.
So they're like, thank you for the data, smart guy, but we got it.
I got no response whatsoever. But it was fun. It's more like training. So if you're interested in kind of, looking at what kind of data you can pull out of traditional photography, I highly recommend both, or Pix4D Drone Deploy, and also Agisoft PhotoScan, which is a commercial product, but is very commonly used for like interior reconstruction for VR and computer games.
Very cool. All right, man. Before you leave, what's coming up for you in the coming months?
Well, since I'm in between jobs, I'm trying to take a proper paternity leave to spend time with my son Mako, who's named after the shark.
Nice.
But I feel like I have a job because I'm still working more than 40 hours a week somehow, even with no full-time job. The other thing is that I'm doing a press release for the new book, which is exciting. And
that's called Aerial Photography and Videography Using Drones. This one right here.
Oh, there it is, a big white blob.
Yeah, wait. Let's see if we can get some data on there.
I got one.
There it is, kind of like that. Yeah.
Here it is, yeah. It's a field guide about learning how to use drones or quadcopters to take pictures from the air. And I'm doing a book signing actually in San Jose at Drone World Expo, which is November 17th and 18th. And
cool.
if you go to Drone World Expo, if you go to the website, you can register for free and come check it out and get a book signed if you're interested.
All right. Maybe you'll if I bring a Inspire down there, will you sign it with a Sharpie?
I will. In fact, someone asked me to sign their iPad too, right across the front. So maybe I'll do that.
Yeah, we don't need that. You can sign it with a virtual pen or something.
I'll sign your chest too if you're interested.
No, we're not going there. All right, man. Thank you for coming on the show. I appreciate you coming on. You'll be on more in the future, I have a feeling. And have a good night and go play with that shark.
Yeah, I will. Thanks so much, guys.
Okay, see you.
All right, bye.
Bye.
All right, guys. Let's roll back up here in the show. We're gonna get down. Let's just finish with the picks of the week since we're already in that section. Valerie, what's your pick of the week?
Mine is a book, and it's by Jay Maisel, and it's called "It's Not About the F-Stop," and it was published at Voices That Matter, which is Peach Pit. And I think you can get it for about $30 on Amazon. That's a book you really want a print version, in my opinion, because it's just beautiful, and it's quite a large book, although it's paperback. But it's the photograph and the creative process. It's not technical. I don't even think there is any. No, there is no metadata on the.
What's the premise of the book? Is it a photo book or is it?
Yes, it's well, Jay Maisel is the New York photographer, who he photographs. It could be anything. He does a lot of street photography, but it could be something in nature or just it's all about light or whatever. And then it's the creative process and the story behind the picture, which I always find so entertaining to read and so refreshing because it's not about gear or technical or it's not even about education in the pure sense of the word for photography. It's really about the creative process.
And this is kind of the ethos that you teach in your workshops as well, right? It's not about the gear, it's more about
vision.
seeing.
Yeah, it's the art of seeing photographically, which is what I teach, and it really and it's Jay Maisel, so of course you won't be disappointed.
Very cool.
No.
Yeah, and it's like $30. Very cool. Perfect pick of the week. Awesome. All right, Derrick Story, what about you? What is your pick of the week?
Well, first, before I say, I think Jay Maisel is terrific, and if you ever get a chance to go see him, he doesn't speak as much as he used to, but like he used to speak at Photoshop World and stuff all the time. Just go see him. Go see him. He's cool.
He's like what, 83, 4 now?
Yeah.
I had the opportunity to meet him one time. I think he was having lunch with somebody else, and I had a chance to say hello and shake his hand. And it was just like he was like shaking the hand of the Pope or something.
Totally. Kidding?
He's like photo royalty. Yeah, more exciting than the Pope, but yeah.
You're a photographer.
Totally. All right, Derrick, what do you got?
So mine's just a little piece of hardware that I think is fun. It's a Manfrotto. It's a monopod. It's called the Extreme, and it's a 2-in-1. And the reason why I like it is because it's very simple. All they did was they put the screw at both ends of the tripod.
Am I on the right page here? I'm trying to find it.
No, well, here.
Wait, here it is. Compact Extreme. This guy.
Yeah, that's it. That's it there.
Okay.
That's it there. And so all they did is put the screw at both ends, and so you just put a cap on the end that you're not using, and so then you can, like I shoot with like an Olympus Air sometimes, and I can just put the Olympus Air at the end of it, and then put it up way over my head, and then have my iPhone down here and see what I'm doing. Or you can turn it around and use it as a regular monopod. You can put a GoPro on there. Yeah, I mean, it's just you can just do all sorts of stuff with it, and it's really light and really compact, and it's $45.
So I would like to go. I would like to go on record to say that this is the very first show that Derrick Story came on and made a selfie stick his pick of the week.
Yeah. I don't use it as a selfie stick.
It's a compact extreme. It is not a selfie stick, even though it kind of looks
Well,
like
I already well established I do not take pictures of myself.
Yeah, it
For
looks well
Instagram.
made. Now, do you have one of these? Because it
I
looks like
do. I actually carry around, and so what I do is I put the Olympus Air on one end, and I put my iPhone at the other, and then I don't really do drone photography, but I do like high angles for certain things, and so I use it for my high angle photography, and it's really a lot of fun.
And you're pretty tall to begin with, so it is kind of almost like drone
Well,
photography.
that's the thing, you add me to it, and you can get some good angles there.
That's right. You got
The other thing is just one other thing before, you ever have that thing where you have to take these gigantic group shots with all these people, and you don't have all the steps and everything, so you have to get up high. So instead of carrying a ladder around or whatever, I just carry this, and I just put the thing up there, and then I just put the camera up high, and it's really a lot easier than having to carry scaffolding with you.
Yeah, that's cool. And you said it was $45, right? That's not bad.
$45, yeah, it works out. It's really nice.
God, so much cool gear. Valerie, you're probably like, I don't need that. More gear to carry around on the plane.
You'll never see me with a tripod again.
Never say
It's
never.
a monopod. It's a
Or
monopod.
You never use one, seriously?
No. I used to shoot interiors for years, so and food, so I had to carry a tripod with me for many years.
So
and now it's like never. To me as a street photographer, which is a lot of what I shoot, if I'm doing a long exposure of and at night or people dancing tango on the riverbank in Paris, the part of the fun is honestly to find the right place to set my camera. Wow. It's going to be a bench, it's going to be a garbage can, it's going to anything. I don't care. That's just part of the challenge.
See, that's interesting because I'm in this mode now where I'm trying to prepare for this trip to Vietnam for 2 weeks.
Don't bring a tripod.
And that was on my list. I'm like, do I not bring a tripod? Do I bring my little Me Photo tripod, or do I just bring a little gorilla pod with me or nothing? So you're saying nothing?
Well, the thing is, I've carried the gorilla pod for a couple of workshops with me, and I ended up never using it because it's like, why do I want to mess with that? Yeah. Unless you keep your camera on it all the time, which as a street photographer would be really strange.
Right.
And I don't know. It's just one extra thing to carry. No, it's just me and my little camera.
I love it. And we'll talk about that later. I have a ton of questions for you.
I can write your packing list for you.
I know. Yeah. You should see my floor over here. There's stuff all over it as I prepare. All right, cool. So we had It's Not About the F-Stop from Valerie, Derrick, Manfrotto Compact Extreme 2-in-1. Monopod pole for $45. Eric's Pix 4D drone deploy and Agisoft photo scan, and mine is Eric's book. My pick of the week is Eric's book. I just got this and I just started reading it, and it couldn't have been more timely because I haven't bought my drone yet. I've been threatening to buy it all year. And speaking with Eric, I'm glad I haven't bought it yet because there's a lot of things to know before I kind of dive in there, and this is, in a lot of ways, the definitive book on aerial and drone-based photography for someone like me that's never really done it. I've flown other people's once or twice, but I've never okay, I'm going to go get some real video or images with this thing. And I feel like this book will prepare me to do that. So check it out. We'll link to it in the show notes. It's called Aerial Photography and Videography Using Drones by none other than Mr. Eric Cheng. All right, guys, let's do our listener Q&A real quick. This is Q&A where we get to answer questions from our listeners. This one's from Simon. Simon says, I'm considering making some photo books for my family as presents for this Christmas. Which service would you recommend that makes the best quality books? And would that choice change if money wasn't an object? Derrick Story, what do you think? Photo books, any suggestions?
I'm not an expert in this area at all.
Yeah, you don't do books? You don't do the photo book thing?
I do, but I just use the standard services. I use Blurb or iPhoto,
straight out iPhoto,
whatever. Yeah, whatever's closest to my mouse button. So
It's a commodity, right? In a lot of ways, it's a commodity.
Yeah. I mean, I focus more on the pictures, but I don't know. But I'm sure some are much better than others. I just don't know them.
Love it, love it. Valerie, what about you?
I've used Blurb, but I've used cheaper alternatives in the past, which you definitely get what you pay for.
Yeah.
So if you want some quality, I think Blurb is probably a good place to start. It's not cheap, but there's a lot more expensive out there too. So, and they have a lot of coupons. You can get 30% off, 40% off. So if you time it right, you could definitely get a good deal. And you don't need to go, hardcover, blah blah blah. You can just you could find a cheaper alternative. I mean, it's really about the content, especially if it's a present for family. It doesn't have to be a huge coffee table book. It's really about the content. So get some good quality. I think it's more about the quality of the images than, the wow factor of the book.
Love it. Perfect advice. Eric put in the show notes here that he's also a Blurb fan, and My Publisher. And My Publisher, I don't know if Apple's using them now. I think Apple they just own that service now. But back in the day when I was at Apple, they were using My Publisher as kind of the back end for the books and print service. And Eric also recommends chat books for Instagram, and he put a code in here to get your first book free. And we'll put that code in the show notes for this episode. So head over to thisweekinphoto.com for episode 438, and you'll see the code. And my suggestion would be one that I've played with, and I've actually ordered about 5 or 6 books from these guys. It's a company called Hey Mosaic, and it's pretty fun because it allows you to tie into your Instagram feed, or I think you can tie in your Instagram feed, or you can just take photos from your iPhone because it's an iPhone app. Take photos from your iPhone camera roll, lay them out in there, and press a button, and a couple days later the book shows up. That's it. So I've made books literally while sitting in traffic. I was in there, I'll make a book, lay it out, done, send, and have it, because I have addresses in there for all my family members. So I was like, oh yeah, I want to send my sister a book. So I make a little quick book, send, it charges me, and she gets it in a couple days, and it works. And it's weird how impressed people are with tactile gifts of photography. Other than, hey, here's a link, go check out these cool images. You send her something that she can thumb through, and she breaks into tears. It's amazing. So so definitely check those out. I don't have a coupon for Hey Mosaic unless they want to give me one to give out, and I will. But definitely check them out.
So you were the guy I was behind down there in San Jose the other day. Huh?
Taking selfies and then making a book with them.
Only if it was the guy that was driving with his knees. That was me.
Yeah, right. Exactly. That guy's making a book over there.
Hey, if you know Bay Area traffic, I could have done my taxes sitting in traffic, man. Come on.
That's true.
Oh, I love it. All right, guys. Listeners, if you have a question you'd like us to tackle and make fun of on This Week in Photo, just hit us up on the site and click that Submit a Question link, and we'll get to it. All right, guys. Where are we at? We got through the show. We got the listener Q&A. We did Picks of the Week. I guess this is the end. Valerie, what's coming up for you in the future?
Oh, I'm actually going to be spending a month writing, well, besides shooting, but I'm not going to travel much. After I'm back early December, I'm going to Austin, Texas to speak for Fujifilm, and then that's it until Paris in January. So.
Wow, so you get to hang out with the family at home?
Yeah, and write and go on photo walks and just
enjoy that beautiful snow weather in your state and all that,
I'll
right?
be ready to leave again by January. And just to take a little break, It's as I say, and that might be very French again, but you work to live and you don't live to work.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Or, as they say in the entrepreneur circles, work on your business, not in your business.
That's right.
Oh.
Yeah, that's deep, isn't it? I know. Derrick Story, what about you? What do you have coming up?
Right now, I'm enjoying working in the studio. I have no
Nice.
travel for the next little bit, and I'm loving it. Working on the digital story podcast every week, and
And
planning the
another
workshops.
another project that we're working on as well. Hmm.
We'll be talking about that at some point. I
Hmm.
suppose we
Yes.
will. Yeah,
Yes, we
yeah,
will.
working on that too. And I'm now recording for Linda in my studio. I'm not going down the carp anymore.
Oh,
So
good.
yeah, so I'm using my recording studio here for that too, which is really kind of cool. I mean, I miss working with a team down there, but it's kind of nice, recording. Uh, no, I won't.
I
It's
know
nice
you're gonna say
recording casual
it's nice to be
clothing.
able to roll out of bed in my underwear and record a Linda course.
No, you know what? I don't want people to have that image in their head while they're listening to my Photo Throw as 10 title.
Yeah, too late, Derrick.
Oh my God, he's in his boxers.
Oh, that's great. I'm gonna put a picture on the wall of Derrick here.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it.
And if anybody's not listening to Street Focus yet, we're at episode 60 this week.
I can't
Yay.
believe that. It's 60.
Yep.
Episode 60. That is crazy. Valerie, you gotta stand up and take a bow. You gotta take a bow.
No, I won't. But thank you.
A curtsy, at least a curtsy. Come on.
But seriously, it's been really fun. I have a lot of great shows coming up, so I'm going to be recording a lot actually in December besides writing. Taking
Wonderful.
pictures.
Wonderful. Yeah, definitely check that out. thisweekinphoto.com/street or twip.pro/street will take you right over to it, Street Focus, or just go to This Week in Photo and look at the menu. It's right at the
Google
top.
my name.
Right at the top of the page. Yeah, you'll find it. Yeah, and it's everywhere. Street Focus is the name of the game. Cool. All right, guys. As for me, like I said earlier, I'm still prepping and getting a little nervous for my Vietnamese trip, wondering what to take, trying not to underpack or overpack. You know, and Valerie, remember when I went to Paris with you?
Yeah, just don't put all your cords and chargers in your checked-in bag.
That bag is right over there on my floor with all my little adapters and all that stuff. That is not going to be checked. It will not be checked. All right, guys. We're at the end of another episode of This Week in Photo. I want to thank our sponsors for this episode, Stride Health FreshBooks and i5 for their support of TWiP. And we'll put links to all of you guys' presences online in the notes for this episode. And listeners, once again, be sure to visit our website at thisweekinphoto.com to find all of our shows, including Valerie's fantastical show called Street Focus, and a lot of other shows that we have there that are all about photography. And with that, it is time to take that lens cap off.